The rain is a relentless curtain tonight, isn't it? Every drop like a tiny hammer on the car roof, a constant beat for the choice we're about to make. On a night like this, most folks are tucked in, warm, safe. But then, we're not most folks. And this definitely isn't most places. See that? Through the downpour? The vacancy sign. It's been dark for decades, but it still flickers, like some twisted welcome, every time lightning flashes. They say some places soak up memories like a sponge. Well, this old motel, the Whispering Pines, ironically enough, is supposedly drowning in them. Drowning in stories and goodbyes and, well, things better left alone. Tonight, we're not just after shelter. We're hunting for those whispers. Because tonight, we think these walls are finally ready to talk. And the forecast? 100% chance of digging up something that really doesn't want to be found. The tires crunch over what is left of a gravel driveway. More weeds than stone these days. And every turn feels like a protest against us being here, disturbing this forgotten spot. The engine cuts, and the silence that hits us, broken only by the rain and distant thunder, feels heavier than any noise. This is it, the Whispering Pines Motel. Even from out here, it just sags, weighed down by years and who knows how many untold stories. The paint's peeling like old sunburnt skin, showing the weathered wood underneath, like bones peeking through. Windows, mostly black, stare out like empty eyes. A few are shattered, jagged teeth in a rotting mouth. The rain, coming down in sheets now, seems to be trying to wash the grime away, but it just makes the decay shine whenever lightning flares. Stepping out of the car, the wind whips rain into our faces, cold, stinging. The air's thick with the smell of wet earth, decaying leaves and something else. Something musty and stale, like a breath held too long and finally let go. It's the kind of smell that sticks to the back of your throat. Every nerve is screaming to jump back in the car, drive off, find somewhere with working lights, and stories kept safely in books. But that's not why we came. We're here because this place, if you believe the local tales and some pretty creepy online posts, isn't just abandoned. It's aware. The main office door hangs crooked on one hinge, a wide-open invitation, or maybe a warning. Hard to say. The wood's all swollen and splintered from countless storms. Pushing it open unleashes this awful groan from the tortured metal, a sound that seems to echo right through the quiet courtyard. Inside, it's almost pitch black, just the weak, jumpy beams of our flashlights, and those brilliant, quick bursts of lightning from outside. The reception area is like a scene frozen mid-chaos. The front desk is still here, its laminate top bubbled and peeling. Behind it, a grid of key hooks, mostly bare. A few still hold tarnished brass keys for rooms that haven't seen a guest in, 30, maybe 40 years? Who was the last person to turn one of those keys, expecting a clean room, a warm bed? What were they running from, or running to? A guest register lies open on the counter. Its pages are warped and stained from the damp, the ink all blurred and unreadable. Faded brochures for local spots that probably don't even exist anymore are scattered on the floor, turning into mush from moisture and time. The silence in here is different from outside. It's a pressed kind of silence, like the building itself is holding its breath. The rain's just a muffled roar now, a constant reminder of the storm battering this fragile shell. Peeling wallpaper, some awful floral pattern, hangs in strips, like an old snake shedding its skin. It reveals patches of darker, older paper underneath, layers of history. Each layer, a different time, a different set of eyes staring at these same four walls. Broken furniture is strewn about, a chair missing a leg, a table knocked over, its surface scarred. It's not just neglect. There's a hint of violence in the mess, or maybe just the last angry acts of a business dying a slow, painful death. There's an old rotary phone on the desk, cord frayed, receiver off the hook. like someone was cut off mid-call decades back. A sudden flash of lightning lights up the room with this stark blue-white light, and for a split second, the shadows dance, twisting everyday things into monsters. The thunder that follows is like a physical punch, rattling the few remaining panes of glass in their frames. This place already feels like it's trying to push us out. Or maybe, just maybe, pull us in deeper. The sheer psychological weight of a place like this is something you can feel, a strange mix of curiosity and that primal urge to just run. Moving past reception, a narrow hallway stretches out, leading to the guest rooms. Each door looks the same, numbered, many of them scarred, dents, scratches, a few with splintered frames. The air in this corridor is colder, and that smell of damp and decay is much stronger here. Our flashlights cut through the heavy darkness, lighting up more peeling wallpaper, stained carpets that squelch softly when we step on them, and cobwebs as thick as shrouds hanging in the corners. The rain on the roof is a constant sad drumming, broken up by the wind whistling through broken windows. It's the kind of atmosphere that breeds mistakes, where every creak of the old building could be something else entirely. We decide to check out room 7 first. The door's ajar, stuck on the warped carpet. It takes a good shove to open it, the sound grating in the quiet. Inside, it's a grim picture of abandonment. A single bed, mattress stained and ripped, against one wall. A rickety nightstand next to it, its drawer gone. On the wall above the bed, the wallpaper's really damaged, and that's where we spot the first one. Scratched right into the plaster, almost hidden by a flap of peeling paper, are words. Not painted, not written in ink, but gouged in, like someone used a nail or a piece of glass. "She watches," it says. The letters are rough, desperate looking. A shiver, and not from the cold, runs down my spine. Who's she? And who would feel the need to leave a message like that? Another flash of lightning, closer this time, lights up the room in harsh detail. The shadows from the broken furniture seem to stretch and twist. For a second, the room feels occupied. Not by a person, but by some kind of presence, an echo of old despair. We head to the next room, room 8. This one's in slightly better shape, or maybe just messed up differently. The curtains, a faded, hideous orange, are mostly drawn, but one hangs by a single hook, swaying gently in a draft we can't find. Here, behind a cheap painting of some generic seascape that's fallen off the wall and shattered, is another message. This one's more frantic, a jumble of letters. Narrow ESCP, no escape. The A is missing, or maybe whoever carved it was interrupted. It's starting to click that these aren't just random acts of vandalism. There's a pattern here, a story being whispered by these decaying walls. The motel isn't just remembering, it's trying to tell us something. That sense of unease starts to sharpen into a more specific kind of dread. These aren't just forgotten rooms. They feel more like traps, each one holding a piece of a larger, darker puzzle. In room 10, the air is particularly foul. We find the source, a pile of old waterlogged magazines, and newspapers in a corner, their pages all fused together into a solid, moldy brick. On the wall above the dresser, its mirror cracked right down the middle, a single word is scrawled, liar. Simple, direct, an accusation. Who was the liar? Someone who stayed here? The person who ran the place? Or something else entirely? The storm outside seems to be matching our own growing agitation. The wind howls like some tormented animal, and the rain lashes against the windows even harder. Each thunderclap feels like it's punctuating the messages we're finding. We document everything, the silence between us getting heavier with every new discovery. It's that thrill of the unknown, that drive to solve a riddle, that keeps us going, even as the apprehension builds. One room, number 12, is different. The door is shut, and unlike the others, it seems to be locked. No obvious damage to it. We try the handle. It doesn't budge. Then we hear it. A faint scratching sound from inside. So subtle, we almost brush it off as rats or the building settling. But then it comes again, a rhythmic, deliberate scrape, a sound that makes the hairs on the back of our necks stand up. This feels important. This room, for some reason, feels like it's at the center of whatever went down here. You can't deny the psychological hit these abandoned places deliver. They're time capsules, aren't they? Preserving moments of lives cut short, of dreams that faded. Exploring them can be like facing your own fears, your own mortality. The peeling wallpaper, the scattered things, the silence. They all ask these silent questions. Who was here? What happened to them? We find a small utility closet at the end of the hall. Inside, among cobweb-covered cleaning supplies and a rusty mop bucket, is an old employee logbook. Most of it's ruined by water damage, but a few entries near the end are partly readable. One, dated almost 40 years ago, mentions issues with room 12 again. Another, a few days later, just cryptically states, she won't leave. Owner says to ignore it. She. The same she from the message in room 7. The pieces are starting to swirl around, not quite fitting together yet, but forming a really unsettling picture. The motel isn't just holding on to memories. It seems to be clinging to a specific person, a specific unresolved story. The whispers are getting louder, more insistent. The darkness in these rooms isn't just the absence of light anymore. It's a presence, thick and almost suffocating. And with every cryptic message, every unsettling find, we feel ourselves being pulled deeper into the heart of this motel's sorrow and its secrets. The scratching from room 12 stops, just like that. Suddenly. And the silence that rushes back into the hallway feels even deeper, heavier, because of the sound that was just there. The air around that locked door feels colder, almost weighted. That logbook entry, issues, she won't leave. It's hanging in the air now, almost a physical thing. This room, we just know it, holds something critical. We have to find a way in. The windows of room 12, when we saw them from outside earlier, were boarded up. But one board looked looser than the others. So back out into the storm we go, circling to the back of the building. The rain is blinding, stinging. Lightning splits the sky, and in its flash, that boarded window of room 12 seems to almost pulse. The loose board gives way with a horrible screech of rusted nails, revealing a small, dark opening. One by one, we squeeze through. Inside, room 12 is different from the others. It's not just decayed, it feels preserved in a state of raw, intense emotion. The air is thick, with an almost metallic smell, mixed with the sickly, sweet scent of old, cheap perfume. The furniture is minimal. A single iron bedstead, rusted and bare, a small, warped wooden table, and one straight-backed chair facing a blank wall. But it's the walls themselves that grab our attention. They are covered floor to ceiling in writing, not scratched like the messages in the other rooms, but written in something that looks like, is it rust or dried blood? The script is looping, frantic, overlapping in places, a dense tapestry of words. We can make out some of it, phrases that jump out. Can't leave, he promised, saw his face, the mirror knows. Other parts are just a mad scrawl, a testament to a mind completely unraveling. And then, on the wall opposite the bed, a larger, more deliberate inscription. It's a name repeated over and over. Eliza, 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 Eliza. Beneath it, a crudely drawn eye, weeping a single dark tear. As we're taking all this in, a flash of lightning lights up the room, and for a heart-stopping second, the blank wall the chair faces isn't blank. A faint, shimmering outline appears, the shape of a vanity mirror, long gone, but its ghostly presence somehow etched into the very room. The air crackles, and the temperature plummets. We can almost hear faint, sad whispers, too unclear to understand, like the sigh of a trapped spirit. On that small table, there's a single object, a tarnished silver locket shaped like a heart. It's closed. With trembling fingers, I pick it up. It's surprisingly heavy. The clasp is stiff. As I'm trying to open it, a gust of wind slams the loose board over the window shut, plunging us into almost total darkness, our flashlight struggling. The room feels suddenly, terrifyingly small. The locket snaps open. Inside, no pictures. Instead, on one side, a tiny, beautifully painted miniature of a young woman with incredibly sad eyes. On the other side, not a portrait, but a single word, carefully engraved: Deceiver. At that exact moment, the loudest clap of thunder yet explodes right over us. The entire motel groans, and a chunk of plaster from the ceiling in the corner of room 12 crashes to the floor, revealing something dark wedged in the space above. It's a small, leather-bound diary. Its pages are brittle, the ink faded but mostly readable. It's Eliza's. Her story pours out from the pages, a tale of a young woman who came to the Whispering Pines with a man who promised her the world. A man who was already married. A man who, when Eliza found out about his lies and threatened to expose him, silenced her. For good. The diary entries get more and more erratic, filled with fear, then despair, ending with one final chilling entry. He said he'd make sure I never left room 12. He said the walls would keep my secrets. The terrifying secret of the Whispering Pines isn't some evil demon or a random ghost. It's the agony of a betrayed woman, her spirit tied to this room, her story desperate to be told. Those cryptic messages in the other rooms. She watches. No SKP. Liar. They were her, trying to communicate, to warn, to accuse. The motel itself, soaked through with her sorrow and rage, had become a container for her unfinished business. The scratching sounds. Her endless attempts to write her truth. A sudden, icy gust of wind swirls through the room, even though the window is still boarded. The pages of the diary flutter wildly. The temperature drops even more, and a distinct feeling of being watched, of a sorrowful, angry presence, fills the small space. It's not actively hostile, but it's immensely powerful, a whirlwind of pain. The walls themselves seem to be weeping, condensation like tears streaking down the frantic writing. This is what the motel was desperate to keep, and yet also desperate to reveal. The forgotten tragedy, the silent injustice. Eliza's story, absorbed by the very plaster and wood, had been waiting in the rain and darkness for someone, anyone, to finally listen. And as the storm rages outside, echoing the storm of emotions trapped in room 12, we realize we've stumbled into the heart of a very human, very tragic haunting. The walls didn't just remember, they were screaming. The weight of Eliza's story just settles over us, heavy and almost suffocating. The air in room 12 is thick with her sorrow, her rage, her never-ending imprisonment. The wind howling outside is no longer just a storm. It sounds like a lament. Holding that diary, her final words echoing in our minds, changes absolutely everything. The motel isn't just a bunch of decaying buildings anymore. It's a tomb, a monument to a life stolen and a secret violently kept. A deep sadness washes over us, mixed with a creeping kind of fear. We're not just explorers now. We're witnesses. Witnesses to a confession etched in what looked like blood or rust, to a diary filled with a young woman's last terrified thoughts. Those cryptic messages on the walls of the other rooms suddenly snap into sharp focus. They were her desperate pleas, her warnings, pieces of her agony reaching out from this, the heart of her pain. We look around room 12 again, and the frantic writings on the wall no longer seem like crazy scrawls. They feel like the desperate, repeated testimony of a soul that was denied justice. That crudely drawn weeping eye feels like a personal plea. The name Eliza, repeated like a prayer, is a cry to be remembered. Even the cheap iron bedstead seems to hold the imprint of her suffering. A distinct cold spot forms near the wall where that ghostly mirror had appeared. It's an intense, localized chill, and with it comes a faint, almost inaudible whisper, like a sigh carried on the wind. It sounds like a name, a word, but it's too fleeting to catch, lost in the drumming of the rain and the groaning of the old building. Is it Eliza, acknowledging that we found her story? Or is it some warning from whatever awful force was responsible for her death? The realization that we've uncovered something so dark, so personal, completely shifts our perspective. The thrill of exploration is gone, replaced by a heavy sense of responsibility. This isn't about creepy finds anymore. It's about a human tragedy. The peeling wallpaper and broken furniture throughout the motel now seem less like signs of decay and more like evidence of a violent struggle, a life cut short and then systematically erased. We carefully place the diary and the locket together on the small warped table. It just feels like the only respectful thing to do. These items are the last pieces of Eliza, her only voice. For a moment, we stand there in silence. The only sounds the relentless storm and the creaking of the motel as it takes the brunt of the wind. That feeling of being watched is still intense, but it's changed. There's less anger, maybe, and more of a deep, weary sorrow. The decision to leave is unspoken but clear between us. We've found what the motel wanted us to find, or perhaps what Eliza needed us to find. To stay longer would feel like intruding on a sacred, sorrowful space. The initial buzz of the unknown has given way to a somber understanding. Retreating from room 12, squeezing back out through that boarded window into the raging storm, feels like stepping out of a different reality. The rain is still cold, the wind still bites, but the night itself feels different, charged with what we now know. As we walk back through the run-down corridors, the other rooms seem quieter, almost respectful. The cryptic messages we passed earlier now read like signposts that led us to Eliza's tragic heart. Even the main office, with its scattered papers and silent phone, feels different. It's no longer just an abandoned space, but the entry point to a forgotten tragedy. The darkness here seems to hold its breath, aware of what's been disturbed, what's been brought to light. The peeling paint and broken furniture are no longer just set dressing for decay. They're silent witnesses to the motel's grim history. The rain starts to ease up a bit as we reach the car, the thunder retreating into the distance. It's as if the storm, having played its part in revealing the secret, is now subsiding, leaving the whispering pines to its sorrowful watch. The infamous motel, its walls still remembering everything, has shared its most painful memory. And we, the intruders who braved the downpour, are now its keepers. The drive away will be a quiet one, filled with the weight of Eliza's story. A story the motel was desperate to tell, and a secret it could no longer keep. The glow of the dashboard lights is such a stark contrast to the oppressive darkness we are leaving behind at the Whispering Pines. The rain has softened to a drizzle, the earlier fury of the storm now just a melancholic sigh. Pulling away from that gravel driveway, the silhouette of the motel shrinks in the rearview mirror, eventually just swallowed by the night. But its presence lingers, a heavy weight in our minds. What happens to a place when it absorbs so much pain, so much sorrow? Does it simply decay, or does it, like we saw tonight, hold on to that energy, that story, desperate for it to be released? The Whispering Pines isn't just an abandoned building. It's a scar on the landscape, a testament to a life cut short, and a secret buried deep. Eliza's story, etched into the walls and confided in the brittle pages of her diary, is a chilling reminder that some places don't just house memories, they become them. The peeling wallpaper, the broken furniture, the cryptic messages, they weren't just signs of neglect. They were the motel's desperate attempts to give a voice to the voiceless. We came looking for the thrill of exploring the forgotten, of uncovering mysteries whispered in the dark. We found something so much more profound, and honestly, far more disturbing. We found Eliza. Her presence, her pain, was palpable in every cold spot, every unexplained sound, every word clawed into the plaster. The terrifying secret wasn't some demonic entity, but the very human horror of betrayal and murder, and the enduring echo of a spirit that's been denied peace. What happens to places like this? Will the Whispering Pines keep standing, a silent guard over Eliza's sorrow, waiting for the next storm, the next curious visitors? Or will her story, now that it's been brought partially into the light, allow some measure of peace to finally settle over those decaying rooms? Those are questions we just can't answer. This exploration was more than just an adventure. It was a confrontation with the darker side of human nature, and with the enduring power of memory, even when those memories are trapped within decaying walls. It really makes you wonder how many other forgotten places out there hold similar stories, just waiting for someone to listen past the silence and the decay. Thank you for joining us on this incredibly intense journey into the heart of the Whispering Pines Motel. It's experiences like these that remind us that the past is never truly dead, and sometimes it's desperate to speak. What do you think about places like this? Do they hold on to the energy of events that happened there? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this exploration as compelling, and frankly, as chilling as we did, please give this a like. And if you want to join us on more investigations into the forgotten and the unknown, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what we uncover next. Stay safe out there, and always listen to the whispers. Sometimes, they have a story to tell that the world needs to hear.